People say your kicking needs to get better.
Yeah, there was probably one game that probably stood out that was on a big stage against Essendon that my kicking wasn't too flash, and sort of ever since then my kicking hasn't been too good. But there's always been sort of at probably every 4 or 5 kicks I might shank one. So trying to drill it as hard anymore, just trying to put it out into space a bit more and let guys run into it a little bit. So I am mindful of it and always work on it with the coaches down at the club.
What about this celebration, Patrick McGinnity from West Coast, Robert? This is a different style again. He kicked a goal on his first goal in footy, and all this almost a Wiggles type celebration. What's going on out there?
You've got to realise these blokes are full-time professional footballers, so they've got a lot of time to work on these things. Like, that's all I can put it down to. It's a bit sad, Richo.
Look, Ballsy, what you have to realise is you're a different generation.
Okay.
And I am too now. I'm Generation X.
Right.
But Generation Y, they're right into this sort of stuff. Don't worry about that.
I reckon it's good that they celebrate a goal.
It is good.
Yeah, we're trying to get Eddie down at the club to do a backflip, but I don't think it'll come out though.
The soccer style?
Yeah.
As we continue looking at round 16, let's move on to the game down at Skilled Stadium as the Cats hosted the Demons. Tom Hawkins in the ruck. Richo, you covered this game for Channel 10. Your thoughts on the Hawkins move?
Yeah, well, I guess before the game, with Mumford being the only ruckman, you sort of wondered who Bomber was going to use in the ruck, and Tom Hawkins did go in there quite a bit. Look, he didn't kick any goals, but he was able to, get around the ground. He picked up 15 or 16 possessions, but what it did was it got his confidence up, and when he did go back forward, he actually took a couple of contested marks. He didn't kick a goal, but it could be a move that will work well for them for the rest of the season. If they're only going to play with one ruckman, obviously we're all waiting on Brad Ottens to come back, but in the meantime, I think it's good for Tom because you can get stale standing in the goal square, lose confidence, young player. I think it was really good for him to get up the ground.
And Marc Blake went around in the VFL, Rob, and to his credit, he did pretty well.
Yes.
Again, I think the criticism probably doesn't do enough around the ground.
Yeah, look, they dropped Marc Blake, and that was big news because Geelong's such a successful team. He's been their leading ruckman for the last couple of years. But, in fairness, they've dropped him in round 16. I think that's good because better to drop him in round 16 and let him know that he's got to do better than drop him in round 21 or 22 and he doesn't come back and play finals.
Brad Ottens' watch, we spoke to him at half-time, and here's what Brad had to say about his progress.
How long with the knee?
Yeah, hopefully another 2 weeks. I know everyone's been hearing that for a while, but yeah, genuine 2 weeks with any luck.
It's been 2 weeks for a while, isn't it? We've had this discussion before. I mean, if he plays again this year, I'm sure they'll roll the dice at one stage. It'll be up forward, surely.
I would think so because he won't have the fitness to go around the ground. So I think they'd be hoping that Blake will get himself back into form and that Ottens, if he comes back into the team, can stand pretty much in the goal square and be that target for them, which they haven't had. Just quickly on ruckman, Mark, Cruiser, he just continues to impress. What's he like as a young fella?
His nickname's Humphrey down the club, doesn't speak too much, but he's obviously had to fill a few gaps in the ruckman stocks that we've got down there at the moment at the club. We've had Sammy Jacobs out injured along with Robbie Warnock, so but on the weekend he went down forward and took a few clunks and looked pretty promising.
How many times you played on Luke Ball? What are your thoughts on him as a footballer, mate?
I haven't played on him too much, but he's obviously a pretty hard-working player. I was surprised to see him out of the side on the weekend. I didn't know.
We all were a bit, weren't we?
Yeah.
Well, there's two sides to the debate. Was he dropped or was he rested?
Well, the mail is he was dropped.
I think he was dropped. And his performances had fallen away in the last month. His game time hadn't been as much. And I guess if we have a look at that...
See, but rounds 1 to 11, Matthew, averaged 71% of game time. The last 12, 13, 14, last 4 weeks, just under 60%.
Well, you can only take it at face value, and the Saints are saying that he's been dropped. Looking at that, you might wonder whether he was carrying an issue because his game time did drop significantly. But if you go through most players' careers, only your superstars like Judd, players that probably never get dropped in their career, everyone else has a period where they probably go back and spend a bit of time in the reserves. So it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
Could end up being a good thing for Luke.
Hey, so Donald Bradman got dropped.
Yes.
Shane Warne got dropped.
Well, there you
Alan
go.
Border got dropped.
And the good thing is it's round 16.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to get himself up. I reckon what's probably against him, he's not super quick and he's not super penetrating with his kicking.
Is he in their best 22?
I'd like to think that he would be.
Gee, you're not emphatic about that.
No, I'm not, because these younger players have come in and are doing the job. So, you know, he's got some work to do.
Do you think he's in their best 22?
Yeah, I think he is, and I think a few games in the reserves he'll get his confidence back, and I think he'll work his way back for the finals.
Stick around, Mark. We're going to another break on 1 week at a time, and it's good to see Rob, the old-fashioned bump or hip and shoulder, still in the game. A beauty from glass on Paul Westhoff.
He forgot the footy, though. Well, he did forget the footy quarters. I like the bump. I love the bump.
So you reckon he should have felt the wrath of the match review panel?
Ask Nick Maxwell what he thinks about that. That's what he got pinged for.
Pictures of you, pictures of me.
Fev's claimed another victim, and this was nothing to laugh about. Poor
Teddy Richards
is still in the hospital. He'll be in the hospital until midweek because he's punctured a lung. Broke his ribs, it hasn't quite inflated. He's claimed a few, hasn't he? Polak here.
Yeah, well, look, he's entitled to keep his line at the footy and protect himself, and it's just one of the unfortunate things that happens in footy. But, hey, not only does Fev crash into the opposition, he also got into Satanta, and that happened earlier this season.
That's got to hurt, that one.
He just about killed him.
Ouch.
And poor old Teddy Richards, it was so courageous of him going back. He won't play again this year, we've heard, which is sad.
How's Satanta going after that?
Yeah, he's been a bit sore. He's missed the last few weeks because I think it's gone down to his hamstring. I think
from that knock.
I think that might be the case. So he, I remember a few days after it, his back was just black. So Fev's got some pretty solid knees on him. As
a forward, though, Rich, I mean, if you're going to double, triple team a forward, or you're going to run to his space, they've got to cop it, don't they?
You're always getting numbers dropping back in front of you, and Fev's coming out attacking the ball, and people are going to start thinking twice of dropping in front of him, and that's going to be a good thing for Fev. You don't want to see guys get injured like Teddy Richards did, but it's part of the game, and Fev's got every right to come out and attack the ball like that.
What a round 17 we're in for, gentlemen. There's some genuine blockbuster games. The games you'll see on Channel 10, by the way, are Geelong Hawthorn and St Kilda Bulldogs, probably the two biggest matches of the round, but they're just... Carlton Collingwood's enormous.
We've just been spoilt with wonderful football, and it's on again in round 17. And
got the showdown and the derby.
Yeah, have a look at all of those games. There's interest in them all. There'll be big crowds again. Geelong Hawthorn, you know, I reckon Mark Bomber Thompson might be saying to his players, Hawks beat us in the grand final last year.
Put them out of business.
We can finish their year. We can finish their year. This will be the motivation for the Cats, I would think.
And I think all the big guns are coming back this week too for the Cats, so they'll just about almost be at full strength apart from Otten. So.
Yeah. Bulldogs have to be some chance, Richo, against St Kilda.
No Dawson, no Kazitsky.
No Dawson, no Kazitsky, and 2 extra days to prepare. I think if ever the Saints were vulnerable, it would be this weekend.
There's no doubt the midfield squeeze that St Kilda are putting on, they really zone that middle part of the ground, and teams just haven't been able to break through it. They can't even get inside 50s. If any team can, I think the Bulldogs can, because they've got great foot skills and they might be able to penetrate through it with their great skills. But Adelaide on the weekend, they just couldn't get through. You watch it here, the midfielders, they squeeze up and then they get run down from behind. Guys like Milne and Schneider put pressure on from behind, and then they turn around and kick easy goals because of it.
Just amazing how St Kilda's been able to limit the scores of other teams. You know, opposition teams are averaging only 60 points a game, 9 or 10 goals a game against this St Kilda side. It's just football as we've never seen before. It really is. I don't say that lightly. We've never seen a team strangle the opposition.
Since the old out of bounds on the full rule got changed.
Well, we go back, say,
40
the last
years.
40 years. The average score against this St Kilda team, the average score against is only 9 or 10 goals a game. It's just amazing.
Who's going to win out of the Dogs and the Saints?
I think the Saints will win. I think they're just they're travelling really nicely, and I can't see them being beaten.
Can they go through the season undefeated? You'd hope not.
I hope not, but I think they will.
Do you think it's realistic now they could do that?
I think it is. Every week you think, oh, maybe this is the week they're going to get beaten. I gave Adelaide a chance on the weekend. Adelaide have been playing similar type of footy with a heap of pressure through the middle, but they just absolutely slaughtered Adelaide. So you can't imagine that they'll get beaten.
Matty Maguire, interesting. Matty Maguire's been sitting on 99 games for St Kilda for a long time. Maybe he'll get his opportunity with Kazitsky out, and Maxi Hudson might come in for Dawson. Mark, what's the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
might have been round 1, I think, this year. I think, is that 87?
Yeah, I think it was 87, 88.
Yeah,
Okay, well, you get a big one Friday
It'll be
night.
a big one Friday night, so hopefully we can put on a good show and
Let's hope
get
it's
a
a
good
better
win.
game than round 1 too, mate.
Hopefully it's the same for us. Yeah.
As we go to another break on 1 week at a time, we saw Fev nailing a few. What about this for great sportsmanship from Brendan Favola? He poleaxed Craig Bolton with his boot by accident, and great to see him pick him up.
Have a look.